I just watched an amazing BL that has social justice commentary, talking about staying true to your convictions, and had probably the most delicious slow burn enemies to lovers love story that I have seen yet. And I need to talk about it some more. Hi, I'm Monique. I am the host of Off by Purple Heart podcast, where I talk to you about K-dramas, C-dramas, BTS, and anything else I want to talk about. So in today's episode, I want to talk to you about The Eclipse. This is a BL Thai drama that I just completed. And let me kind of rewind and go back a little bit. I've watched BLs on and off in maybe 2019, 2020 was probably the last time I really dwelled into the BL world, and I kind of dropped off for a minute. I still was watching, just run-of-the-mill K-dramas, and C-dramas is more new to me on this platform as I've been documenting. But I dropped off on BLs, and only recently I somehow randomly end up watching a few current BLs and some that are in the past. I've actually reviewed one referred to as Choco Milkshake, and I've done a podcast episode about this. And I've watched a few others. One that's actually very recent called Only Friends. That BL was very interesting, to say the very least. It was very interesting, but there was a particular couple in this show, Sand and Ray, that really caught my attention. I thought the two actors, and I believe their names are First and Kale, that really struck a chord with me. And I thought not only was their chemistry great, but the acting was also really, really great as well. And I decided to watch more shows that had them in it, which is how I came upon The Eclipse, which is what I'm going to talk about in today's episode. And that it is in a phenomenal slow burn enemies to lovers in the true sense of the word. For me, enemies to lovers, for it to work well, there has to be genuine tension from the get-go. It can't be unrequited love from one participant and the other participant has a fundamental misunderstanding of the character, but they like each other very early on. With The Eclipse in particular, they do not like each other when they first meet. KO and First play Ak and Ayan in The Eclipse, and I tell you, the first couple of episodes of The Eclipse is very goofy. I hate to say it, very goofy. It starts in a really authoritative all-boys school, very much militant in the rules and practices, and there's a so-called curse that is rumored to be inflicted on the students that go to the school and teachers. And in order for this curse to not wreak havoc on their lives, they must live a very structured and orderly fashion in this school and not disobey any single rule that is stipulated. And if not, this curse could turn to be deadly. It is very cheesy, it's very corny, and one of the main leads, Ak, is one of the prefectors who's part of the student body that basically inspects all the students and basically kind of kowtows to the teachers and professors that are within this school, and just kind of keeps everything in an orderly fashion. Kind of think of like hall monitors, but on like steroids, kind of matter, right? So then we get introduced to this new student, Ayan, who's transferred there just randomly at the beginning of the school year, and everyone kind of finds him very suspicious. And we find that this main lead, Ayan, he's here in this school because there's a mystery surrounding the death of his uncle, and he knows it directly ties into the weirdness that's going on in the school and this supposed curse. He just wants to find more information. And the introduction of Ayan is really great because he is a character that's extremely well defined off the bat. He has a lot of pride in oneself. He's very much an advocate for social justice, and not only does he have an axe to grind because of the death the untimely death of his father, which we're led to believe is a suicide, but we don't know particularly why or the details. And this is like the building mystery that's one of the main arcs that ties the show together. Now, as I said, the first 2 episodes are really rough and really cheesy, and I didn't really expect much from this show at all. But one of the fantastic things the show does is character arcs. So as much as there's like the mystery of the school, the mysteriousness of all the really strict, ardent rules, and that the student body feels very stifled by them, there is also the character-driven storylines of our main 2 leads, because Ak is more of the studious, uptight prefector. You know, he's in this school because of a scholarship. He's kind of a country kid, and he has a lot to prove. He has a background of a lower socioeconomic class, and he was bullied earlier on until he became a prefector and really tried his hardest to gain the respect of the student body. So he's very straight-laced, very serious, and plays kind of like the straight man as far as like the humorous dynamic of the 2 leads. And Ayan is more the troublemaker, the fire starter in the school, even though he has a really intact moral compass and is not just there to just showcase all the spicy like banter, but actually gives a crap about the other students that are affected by the stringent policies of this school, and about the weird mysteries and the weird accidents and all the mishaps that have been going on in the school that have been blamed on this years-long curse, or this decades-long curse that really doesn't make much sense. So the show kind of gives you the sense at first that there's going to be supernatural elements in it, but it truly is a character study, and it's probably one of the better executed enemies to lovers romance arc that I've seen. And it just does slow burn so incredibly well. There is this really gorgeous episode in episode 8. And this is going to be spoilers, but even with the spoilers that I'm giving you, I'm just saying you need to watch the show. If you appreciate enemies to lovers, you appreciate true slow burn and seeing 2 characters that are wildly opposite of one another come together, this show is worth the investment, because after episode 3, it kicks off into really full gear, and it just becomes gorgeous in the character arcs of these 2 male leads. There is this really amazing sequence in episode 8. You know, these 2 have been bantering back and forth for episodes. There's this really delicious dynamic where, you know, Ayan, he's confident and he gets in Ak's face all the time. He likes ruffling his feathers. He thinks it's funny to get under his skin. And there's this knowing look that Khaotung does when he interacts with First, where it's like he knows that the character is interested in him, but the character himself, Ak, doesn't realize that he's falling in love with him. He knows that he's intrigued by this guy. He wants to know the bottom line of why he's in the school. He suspects there's more to it than what he's telling everyone, and that he's hiding something, because not everyone within the show knows that the uncle that passed away, who coincidentally enough was a teacher in the school, they don't know the connection between him and Ayan. So they're very suspicious of him. But anyways, he doesn't understand what his feelings are, but he knows he's like a moth to the flame towards Ayan. And Ayan just kind of gives him these knowing looks, knowing that I know you're falling for me. You can't see it yet, but I can. And I'm going to continue to get under that skin until you finally face the truth of what we are. And it's this like delicious tension that holds out for a good 7 to 8 episodes. And 8 episode in particular, when, you know, Ayan has really gotten behind Ak's walls, and he starts to become more vulnerable and starts to peel back that more strict, hardened shell, and he really starts to kind of break down. They get a better fundamental understanding of one another. Ayan has like this sequence in the show, which is like one of the most romantic confession scenes, where he kind of lays all the cards out on the table and says, I will wait for you for as long as it takes. And I'm paraphrasing here. he says, I love looking at you. He's like, when I hold your face, you emit so much warmth. It's like the most comforting cup of coffee, and I love everything about you, and I'm going to wait for you, and I truly want to be in this relationship with you, and I know you're not ready. I know that it's hard for you to face the fact that you might have interest in me, even though he has never had interest in the same sex. And it's such a quietly beautiful love declaration, and I think it's probably one of the most well done that I have seen in recent history. And from there, the show just continues to get stronger and stronger. And there's some twists that come here and there. There is some weird stuff that I did not enjoy. In one instance that I don't like when I'm watching in shows that dealing with like same-sex romances, there's this annoying thing that writers do where a character will out the people, and it's always in like a public setting. And I don't think a lot of writers realize just how traumatizing and dangerous of a thing that is to do to someone that's closeted or is questioning what their sexuality is. And I think that it was really disappointing that this show did this, because it was a character that you wouldn't suspect that would come from, for one thing. And the way the show depicted it, it was like he had the moral high ground to do it, and the show kind of glosses over that. And I don't think that was a wise choice, especially with just the type of messaging the show has throughout it, where it's more about coming into one's own personality, owning the true nature of who you are. It's about bucking against authority. I mean, the novel 1984 is referenced a lot in the show, and questioning the type of programming that we have societally, and being able to have your own autonomy and to choose your own life's path and to stand up for what is right. And I love that Ian in particular, even though he is slowly falling in love with Ak and likes getting under his skin and has this really, you know, hot and charismatic back and forth with him, he also doesn't have any problem with challenging him and his worldview, and will call him out on his shit when he's wrong and tell him, no, what you did was actually out of order and you need to atone for that. You need to apologize. And I like that. I like that the two characters were evenly matched, and even though they are polar opposites as far as their ideologies at the beginning of the show, they come to an understanding and respect for one another through the journey of these episodes up into episode 12. And it's also rare for me, not even just in BLs, but in just dramas in general, where both actors are evenly matched in talent. First and KO are phenomenal together. There's a lot of emotional scenes where both have to break down and cry, and it's just about, you know, a teenager becoming really confused, having all these hormones kind of built up, falling in love with someone that you would never have suspected in a million years, and the societal pressures of that, and especially in the community that they're in, and standing up for what's right. And both actors, especially KO in particular, really brought home the gravitas of what was happening, and brought like enough emotional weight that even when the show, some of the plot lines were kind of goofy and just out there, and it would take a lot for you to suspend belief, their performances consistently ground the show and nail it. They were so incredibly well matched with one another. I genuinely think that they should be paired off in every future drama together, because they're very captivating as a pair on screen. And it was so enthralling to watch this, and I kind of wish I was watching it when it was initially airing, because I would have had a field day with the fans of this show. From right now, as I'm recording this, it's all on YouTube, and most episodes have over 2 million views. So clearly there is a big audience for it, but I feel like this show should be even bigger for what it was able to accomplish in those 12 episodes. Even with the stuff I disagreed with, even with the criticism I have towards it, it's just the performances are just so strong that it just moved me in a way that I just had to do an episode about it. Even though I primarily focus on K-dramas and C-dramas, I just had to do an episode about it because I was that captivated by it. And on top of everything else that I loved and enjoyed about the show and its overall messaging, the OST for it is phenomenal, which I just learned that the lead actor, Ko, actually sang, and I just finished watching the music video for it. And it's so incredibly good. I'm someone that will skip credits a lot of the time for shows, like the opening title sequences, but I never skip this one. It kind of reminds me how I felt like when I was initially watching like you know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer or like Stranger Things, like where the credits and the music is so good that you get just as much enjoyment from watching the title sequence as you do the episodes. That's how I felt about this show. I felt like for a lot of these BLs, or just even K-dramas, C-dramas, whatever in general, the title sequences are kind of annoying, the music is kind of eh, but it's just so beautiful. The lyrics absolutely match the emotional intensity that this show gets to, and it's just such a beautiful OST. I actually have it added on Spotify, and it just kind of encapsulates the hidden gem that this show is. Even with millions of views per episode, I think it should be even bigger than it is. I think if you're watching this episode with me, most likely you have seen this show or have heard of it, but if you happen just to stumble upon this, or you're just a regular listener to this podcast, I highly implore you to go watch it because it's phenomenal work. Despite the kooky premise of it, despite the first couple of really rough, cheesy episodes, I think the character growth and just the emotional journey that you go on with these characters, the chemistry, the great acting, and even like the secondary couple too, even though there was a twist towards the end that I really didn't particularly like, they had great chemistry too, and I just think it's well worth the ride. So that's it. That's my spiel for the Eclipse. If you have any thoughts, please comment them down below. If you're watching this podcast via YouTube, if you're listening via Spotify, I appreciate you as well. I hope you can share this with other lovers of K-dramas, C-dramas, even Thai BLs or whatever. Or if you're really into BTS, I'd really appreciate that as well. Thank you for tuning in for this episode. I have a lot more episodes coming down the pipeline. There's a lot of K-dramas that are airing right now. There's a lot of C-dramas that I still have to catch up with. There's episodes that I have to finish off for series. And I am going to be uploading next, most likely, Twinkling Watermelon, which has been trending for a few weeks now. So until then, till the next episode, bye.